there, this is Gloria Starr with another etiquette lesson. Again, we're using our formal dining service of Rosenthal china with the Versace Medusa design. So you can see in the center of our soup bowl we have the Medusa head. So we're set for a formal dining, and to just regroup again, everything from the outside in is how you follow the guidelines of proper etiquette. This session also includes the glasses, and for the picture purpose, the glasses are set slightly off to the side, but normally the very first glass you use would be set at the tip of the outside knife. So this is a champagne glass, so we would probably have a glass of champagne first if we're celebrating. We could also have the champagne last. In that case, the glass for champagne would be on the inside rather than the outside. Then we have a white wine glass, and that would be second. And then we have a red wine glass, and that would be third. You'll notice in the foreground that rather than glasses, we have a tea or a coffee cup. That could also be there as well, but usually the tea and the coffee cup is brought after the main meal has been finished and everything has been removed, the glasses except for the water glass, and your salt and pepper and bread and butter. So everything would be removed prior to serving the tea, coffee, and dessert. And we'll do a session on that in just a few minutes. Again, the napkins on your left, and depending on white tablecloths or colored, white is certainly more formal. Open the napkin only halfway, not fully. Do not, gentlemen, put it in your collar or tuck it into your trousers. It sits on your lap. And then the napkin is used like this and like this. So here what we have our beverages or drinks on our right, and on our left is the bread and butter. It has a special knife, and a knife in lieu of your main knives. This is the bread and butter knife, so it's smaller and it's all of the same pattern. And that's going to be set here. So when you have the bread and butter, you pick the bread up and set it onto your plate, and then pass the bread plate onto the next person. So we're actually going to go around this way, which is counterclockwise. So I would pass to this person. Even if they do not want the bread or the butter or the salt and pepper, they still take it and then they pass it around to the next person. So here, if I'm going to have some butter, I would take this and open it up, put some butter on my knife, and set the knife back on my plate. Then I would take a piece of bread, and you never butter the whole piece of bread, but you would break it into a bite-size or maybe 2 bite-sized pieces, and you would butter that piece of bread, and then you bring it directly to your mouth and eat it. You don't bring it part way and then start talking with your hands as the Italians do with the bread floating around up here. So every item that you take, whether it's bread or your soup, it's going directly to your mouth and swallowing or chewing and setting your item back down in this direction. So here, after buttering my bread, I would set the knife down, bring the bread up, eat it, and bring my fingers back down. Prior to having a sip of any beverages, I would always touch my mouth up with my napkin so that there are no food particles on my lips, which would then be either on the glass or floating in the beverage. After you use an item, such as a knife or piece of cutlery, you would not be able to set it back down onto the tablecloth because you've already used it. It would have to go on one of the plates. And on your place setting, the knives, the sharp edge is always pointing inward. Outward is very aggressive, and you've actually offended many of the other guests at the table, particularly the one to your right, if the knife sharp edge is facing out. So it would be facing in. And then all of the cutlery is lined up perfectly so that everything is just so. This soup spoon is the larger soup spoon, so it is obviously for soup by comparison to this spoon, which is going to be either for tea or coffee or for dessert. And you do not blow on your soup or stir it, anything like this, to cool it off. Everything is kept to a minimum in the way of activity. During the meal, conversation is very important, and there are certain kinds of conversation that you can have and others that you cannot have. So let's talk about the off topics for the dinner table. Anything that is spicy, gossipy, glum, dull, or inappropriate, such as gossip, or sad bereavement news, such as a death in the family or hospital things. So it takes away a lot of the kinds of conversations people might generally have. Instead, the appropriate conversations are upbeat and interesting to others at the table. So it could be art, theater, culture, travel, and maybe, if it's a family meal, some of the family things. But keeping the conversation light and positive is essential. If you're asked a question that you don't want to answer, an easy solution is just say, "Why do you ask?" And then the onus is on the other person. Another option might be, "Oh, that's such a trivial subject," or "not important. Let's talk about something else, thank you," and move right into a topic that you wish to speak to. Now you'll notice also on the table I have a small gold bell. And rather than calling for your wait staff in a loud voice to bring them from the kitchen for additional service, you would just ring the service bell. So it's lovely to have staff. Many of us can't have staff on a full-time basis, but for every special event, I believe it's a small amount to be able to invest to have the service done. So at all of my events, I do have someone wait on the table for my guests, even at my big family meals such as Christmas or Thanksgiving. On this side of me, you'll see that we have the tea and coffee service out. Normally that is not on the table at this time, but for the purpose of demonstration with the video, I've decided to have it on. Coffee pots are always tall and lean. Teapots are always short and stout. And then we have the creamer and the sugar container as well. So we have those items. If I were to pour a cup of coffee, I would take the pot like this and always hold the lid. If you drop anything, such as your napkin, just leave it on the floor. There's no way you can pick it up by bending over without anyone else knowing. And you would just ask the staff for another napkin. If you're in your own home, you may get up and get another napkin. So that's a few other etiquette tips, and there'll be more in the next video. Gloria Starr, your international expert of choice in image, etiquette, communication, and leadership skills.